Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the latest round of the Junior Saloon Car Championship's official eSeries here on Perfect Acceleration at Sim Racing. We are just 2 rounds away now from crowning a champion in what has been a very hotly contested title race. We have got, mathematically, still actually over 10 drivers who could win the championship. Realistically, it's sort of boiling down to a 3-horse race, and with still 4 races left to decide the outcome. It's anyone's guess who's going to be lifting the big prize come season's end. Andy McEwen back in the hot seat again. I've very much missed covering this championship for the last few weeks. Delighted to have alongside me, virtually at least, in the commentary box, Jack Werrell, who's been doing a superb job standing in my absence. The rest of the team are here in full force as well. Tom O'Farrell, our broadcast director, Mick Sutton, our series organiser, Scott Thorne and Craig Cherney, working behind the scenes to make sure that everyone behaves themselves ahead of what is set to be a pair of intriguing races, Jack, here at, and I know I say this from a slightly biased perspective, the greatest racetrack in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I'm definitely biased. Maybe not what I necessarily agree on, but let's say one of the best race circuits in the UK. Of course, we've already ticked off Brands Indy, Cadwell Park, my personal favourite, Castlecombe, Thruxton, Snetterton, and Anglesey last time out. What a close race that was! We saw drama from start to finish, whether that be on-track drama, off-track drama a little bit, because we saw a few drivers testing the track limits and figuring out how far into the grass you can go. A couple of drivers having to go into the pit lane as well, so it was filled, just action-packed from start to end. If you didn't watch it, I beg that after this round you do go and watch that back, because what a brilliant event that was. What an advert it was for the Junior Saloon Car Championship official E-Series. And then next week we go back to where it all started, back to Brands Hatch on the Indy layout, and going off what the first round was like, we're going to be in for a treat, and this championship's going to go right down to the bitter end.
Yeah, we saw some really close racing at the opening round at Brands Hatch, and this being a junior series, there inevitably has been a big step forward taken by some drivers, so it should be even more competitive when we go to a circuit that they've already raced at earlier on in the season. Now, for those who are in title contention, well, this is what they're fighting for. Our champion, in a week's time, will receive free entry into the Junior Saloon Car Championship's Scholarship for 2024. That is a cracking prize, a fantastic opportunity for a driver to really kickstart their real-world racing career. But if you don't manage to take the big prize, there are still prizes up for grabs for our runner-up and third-place drivers. So second in the championship receives a PASR3 Sim Racing Rig, and our third-place driver an MSI 32-inch gaming monitor or £200 cash. But I think most of these drivers, probably looking to upgrade their sim racing setup, would very much like to take that curved gaming monitor home with them. There's also the weekly Driver of the Round award, as chosen by us, the broadcast team, and the behind-the-scenes team as well. We will take input from the YouTube chat as well. So if you've got an idea of who you think should be taking that prize, then do let us know. A pair of sim racing gloves, courtesy of 3M UK, will be heading their way. Well then, Jack, they are the prizes. Who are the contenders as we head into these final 2 rounds? It's mighty, mighty close, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been saying it all season long. We can list out every single round the drivers tying for points, and there still are drivers tying for points at the moment. Albert Henriksen Bell and Lewis Stannard still tied together on it is Albert Henriksen Bell and Leo Bell, both tied on 146 points. It's to be that close with the inclusion of drop scores as well, just shows how close this championship has been up until this point. And we've still got 4 races left to go, so still so much to look forward to. A 10-point margin between Nathan Williams and Kyle Felvis. That's not necessarily the end of the world for Nathan Williams, because we saw Jordan Taylor last time out at Anglesey get caught up in an incident. He only scored 14 points and it dropped him down into 3rd place. So it's more easily lost than won. So if anything, all eyes on Kyle Felvis for this evening. Let's see how he soaks up that pressure. But from Oscar Abruzzese in 11th place up, they are still in with a chance of winning the outright championship. It would take, I think, a miracle for it to happen, but you cannot rule it out. But also, we mentioned the prizes. Anyone from Olivia Kronoska down in 14th place could still finish in the top 3. So there's still so much to keep an eye on. A little bit will be decided this evening, but I think it's going to go down to the very final lap on the final race of the season next week.
Yeah, and the thing I like about this championship is that, as with all PASR championships actually that we've had, I seem to recall, you can't drop either of the races from the final round at Brands Hatch, and that's what keeps it wide open. Over 50 points will still be on the table at the end of tonight, and you can't drop any rounds from those final two races, and that helps to keep things nice and tight. And I believe that that will be the same format in our next championship that we're hoping to run, and we will be running at the conclusion of the Junior Saloon Car Championship, because we are going sports car racing, the rear-wheel drive one-make Mazda MX-5 Championship coming your way on Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing. Thursday nights, I believe, will be the broadcast nights with a £300 prize fund, £40 if you want to get yourself on the grid for the full season. It's a 6-week championship rather than 8 weeks, with the standard 2 20-minute races following a 15-minute qualifying session. But Jack, I have a real soft spot for Mazda MX-5 racing. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen you behind the wheel of one of these Mazda MX-5s. You know what you're doing. So if you don't join me in the commentary box, by all means, it would be great to see you on the grid. And it's again just a slightly different dynamic of car. Still quite a short wheelbase, still very light, but of course, all of that power goes to the rear of the car, so it makes sort of understeer less of a problem and more oversteer a problem. So you've got to adapt your driving style, and we may see some returning drivers from the Junior Saloon Car Championship into this one and from previous iterations of championships on Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing, but also more than welcome new drivers. We love to see it, new talent and new names crop up on the grid, and if we can see that and maybe get ourselves a few title contenders through that way as well, it just makes the championship even closer. So if you do want to get out on the grid and you want to show off what you can do behind the wheel of a racing car, do jump at that. Go onto the Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing website, get yourself signed up, and you could be in with a shout at getting close to that £300 prize fund. But that's all to come tonight. Qualifying is already underway, and in terms of timing already, Nathan Williams, he's already starting to sort of show what he can do behind the wheel. We've seen it all season, and he's back up on provisional pole position, but the key word being provisional, because he's only just over a 10th clear of his title contender, Kyle Felbus, and other championship hopeful Jordan Taylor. He sat there in third, but the mid-pack is normally where we need to be watching as well. So you don't really know where to look. It's going to be a very busy job this evening.
Indeed so. Look how close some of the qualifying times are. Just over a tenth of a second between Williams and Felbus, about 3/10 back to Jordan Taylor. He is 1/1000th of a second quicker than Albert Henricks and Bell. Luke Sintler sits fifth ahead of Leo Bell, Harley Connolly, Oscar Abruzzese, and then Bream and Hayden Gray completing the top 10. But yeah, Nathan Williams gunning for a pole position here. Remember, pole position for race number 1 worth a bonus point in the championship, and Nathan needs every single one of those points if he's going to try and grab the title away from Kyle. 10 points the difference at the moment, but if it finishes this way in qualifying, that comes down to 9. And Jack, when the championship is as finely poised as this, they really do have to start thinking about not only the points, the 25 points available for winning a race, but any bonus points that you can pick up could be the deciding factor.
Yeah, of course, you can go out there and win both races and pick up 50 points in a night, but if you finish second in both races, that gets you to 44, so at that point there's a 6-point deficit. But then if you get pole position and both fastest laps, that picks up 3 bonus points, obviously 1 for pole and 1 for each of the fastest laps that you get. So then that brings that deficit down to only what is 3 points. So you massively cut into, it's almost damage limitation in terms of point scoring. So you might not necessarily be in the best racing position, but if you can get some quick clean laps in and maybe get the fastest lap, it manages what points you would have lost. So I think that's just another thing that the Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing do so well, as they've organised that championship to keep this championship closer or as close as possible right the way up until the final round. We're currently riding on board with Jordan Taylor. He's just going over D Elite now. He's a blind left-hander, flat out towards the start-finish line before you arrive at turn 1. Quite a deceptive corner, draws you in early. You've just got to keep the car out as late as possible and see what you can do in terms of maximising the exit. No improvement from Jordan Taylor that time through. Still remains, oh no, he does improve, pardon me, but only by 100th of a second. So he's now exactly 100th clear of Albert Henricks and Bell. So he's still got a bit of work to do, and we'll slowly start to feel Albert Henricks and Bell breathing down his neck. But as you mentioned, those qualifying times are so close, and if you can just maybe pick up the power slightly earlier, get the car pitched in, you might slowly start to pick up extra little bits of lap time. But Luke Sintler, he knows what he's doing in Sector 1. He's gone quicker in Sector 2 as well. We could see him up towards the front row.
Let's see what he can do then. Certainly got a chance of moving into the top 3, you would imagine here. Only needs to find half a tenth or so, crosses the line, and in the end, actually no improvement come the end of the lap. Well, it was a personal no, it wasn't, excuse me. No, that wasn't in. No, it was a personal best. I doubted myself then, but I presume that it wasn't quite enough to improve into the top 3. But even closer now, only a hundredth of a second further back from Albert Henriksen Bell is Luke Sindler. Matt Guest, meanwhile, down in 12th position right now. He's done a personal best in Sector 1 and a personal best in Sector 2. So this looks like being an improvement for Matt, a 1 minute 50.5. So he's nearly 2 seconds off pole, but should move into the top 10 with this late effort. We'll have time for one more lap as well if he wants it. Crosses the line. And Matt Guest, well, actually only moves up to 11th, but Harley Connolly right behind him with a bit of a slipstream, which does make actually quite a big difference around what is a deceptively high-speed circuit here. He benefits from that nicely, moves up into 3rd place, so it's no longer a conversation between Jordan Taylor and Albert Henriksen Bell for that 3rd place. Harley Connolly manages to pip the pair of them.
Yeah, it's definitely something that the drivers need to bear in mind because, of course, track limits will slowly start to become an issue. But if you can just maximise any sort of aerodynamic assistance from the car in front, it will better your lap time. Jordan Taylor crosses the line, a personal best lap, and puts a bit more breathing space between himself and Albert Henriksen Bell. Very wide on the exit of turn 1. Somehow got the moment collected up. I think he just kept the accelerator through the floor and pointed the wheels where he wanted to go. Kyle Felvers has improved through Sector 1, so championship leader coming into this round. He's looking to maybe extend that championship lead. If we look at the times, that would be enough to put him on pole position going through Sector 1. He's got to manage the time through Sector 2. It either needs to be as good as or better than his current fastest lap. But going back to the aerodynamic assistance, these cars have only got around about 90 brake horsepower, so not necessarily going to spin the world the other way, but if you can get stuck up behind a car, it will massively benefit you in terms of what speed you can maybe carry down the straights. Let's have a quick look at times. Does anyone improve last time through? Harley Connolly, as you mentioned, yes, he did. But Kyle Felvers through Sector 2 sets the overall fastest Sector 2. He's going to be on for pole position here through the final corner, through Lodge. Then it's over the left-hander at Deer Leap. Towards the line he will go, up through the gears, making sure he cuts that corner as best as possible and cuts the distance between himself and the timing beam. Across the line he will go. Is it enough for pole position? No, not this time. Just misses out. You could see how fine the margins were in the sectors, but not quite enough. A 1 minute 48.687. Nathan Williams, I don't want to say he's safe, but he has still got to think about maybe bettering that lap time on the very final lap of qualifying.
Yeah, well, let's wait and see. Harley Connolly still pushing on. Luke Sindler jumped up ahead of Jordan Taylor there onto the 2nd row of the grid as well. Harry Dios there pulls into the pit lane 10th and, well, more and more beginning to pour in as well. Harley Connolly's off the road, but Luke Sindler still pushing on. He's just improved on his previous lap, carrying some momentum then into this final lap of the session, and he's improved again in the 1st sector. A couple of tenths of a second away from pole position, but could he now move up onto the front row, spoil the party maybe for Carl Felvers, or at the very least challenge Harley Connolly for 3rd. We've got, what, 3/4 of a tenth between Harley and Luke at the moment. Comes out of the final, penultimate corner at Druids, underneath the Paul Warwick Bridge, the undulating straight, sort of, into the braking zone at Lodge, where you pitch the car in, you've got positive camber on the way in, and then the world just drops away at your feet there, through the dip, up towards Deers Leap. The middle sector is another personal best, and actually he's getting closer now to the really quick times. What can Luke Sindler do? Across the line, he was 4th, he completes the qualifying session and moves up to 3rd. A brilliant final couple of efforts there from Luke Sindler to go from 5th to 4th to 3rd. It's not quite the front row, but he is certainly going to be a contender as we move into the first of the 2 races coming up in a moment or two. Fantastic late effort from him then, and that was a very, very exciting end to the session, but it is a session that is topped by Nathan Williams, and that was important for the championship. A bonus point heading his way, Jack, but that is only part of the challenge. And in fact, actually, Nathan has joined us in the commentary box, so we'll get Jack's thoughts on that in a moment or two. For now, Nathan, congratulations. Pole position, a really important pole position that as well. That is becoming a bit of a theme for you though, really. You've been on pole position more than any other driver so far this season, picking up those bonus points, and this stage of the season that becomes more important than ever.
Yeah, obviously I think it's a very important pole at Oulton Park. Obviously it's a very short run down to the 1st corner, and then I think from there it's just about getting a good exit. I think from having the pole, it definitely gives me an advantage to hopefully try and build a gap to Kyle off the start.
yeah, from a championship perspective, really, you've got to try and beat Kyle in these 2 races, haven't you? Get it as close as possible heading into the final round. Are you happy with how this season's gone? I mean, you've clearly had the ultimate pace, but Kyle coming out on top in the points ever so slightly. You've got to be quite happy, though, to be keeping up with someone like Kyle, who we know is an absolute demon.
Yeah, obviously, I'm very happy with how this season's gone. Obviously, there's been quite a few moments where I've had quite bad luck, but I think for the pace from what I thought it was going to be coming into the season, it's definitely met my expectation, probably surpassed it. I didn't expect to be fighting anywhere near the front, especially at the start of the season.
Yeah, well, you were. I mean, it only took you, 3 races to get a race victory. You've been on then and claimed another 2 since then. 2 more wins tonight. Even 1 more win tonight could really, really benefit you in the championship race. It is a notoriously difficult circuit at which to overtake this, isn't it? So how important is the start going to be, and how confident are you that you can fend Kyle off into turn 1?
Obviously, the start is going to be really important. Obviously, I think so far I've been getting quite good starts for the last couple of rounds. But obviously, there's always a chance to make a tiny mistake on the start with your clutch, and it just costs you seconds, and then by then you've dropped down to P3, P4 by the time you reach turn 2.
How tricky is it to get these cars off the line then? Explain to the viewers what the process is and what the potential issues can be.
Yeah, it's very hard. So you have to almost drop the clutch a bit to around 20%, and then go back up to around 60% to build up the revs again. So, and then that's the best way to get. That's how I start the car. I know other people have their own methods, but it's a very tricky car to get off the line.
Absolutely, and low power as well. So if you do bog down, then that can really be costly. But Nathan, you have done this a few times now from the front of the grid. Hopefully you'll be able to stay there and score some good points. The very best of luck for tonight's 2 races.
Thank you.
So Nathan Williams then on pole position for our first race of the night. And Jack Werrell, that is not a bad start to the evening for Nathan. And as he did make the point there, notoriously difficult to overtake here, starting at the front. It's not all of the job done, but it's certainly a big step towards a possible race win.
Yeah, absolutely. And picking up that bonus point, as you mentioned, it will be so crucial at this very late stage in the championship. And I was just looking as well. The only round that Nathan hasn't started on pole position was round 2. So he knows what he's doing in qualifying, and 1 lap pace is obviously what you want to look for initially, but then it's extracting that 1 lap pace and extending it over a 20-minute, maybe plus race period as well. So he's just got to be so careful at how he manages the first race, and then of course we've got the full reverse grid to think about as well. And we've seen a couple of drivers that seem to be very quick in race 1, maybe slightly fall away in race 2, and then it can be the complete opposite. They can nail race 1 and still keep that momentum flowing into race 2, and it really works for them to get a massive point heading into the end of the evening. So definitely a few things to think about. Kyle Felbus, obviously he wants to defend that championship lead at the moment. He might have been thrown slightly off where he wants to be with Nathan Williams getting pole. Jordan Taylor, you can't rule him out. Harley Connolly and Luke Sintler, definitely names that we need to keep an eye on as well, but the grid is on its way.
It is indeed, with the 2 main title protagonists sharing the front row. We couldn't have scripted that much better, really, could we? Nathan Williams, now 9 points, essentially, behind Kyle Felbus. We'll be starting from pole position, the preferred line into turn 1. Felbus starts alongside, then Luke Sintler and Harley Connolly from row 2. Luke with that late improvement to jump onto the second row. Then it's Jordan Taylor. Remember, Jordan is 3rd in the championship standings, but only 5th on the grid. He's got Albert Henriksen Bell for company on row 3, ahead of Leo Bell and Oscar Abrases on the 4th row of the grid. Top 10 completed by Hayden Gray and Harry Dios. Hayden Gray, we know, is very racy once the green flag waves. Then we've got Matt Guest and Bertie Bream sharing row 6. Olivia Kronoska and Nathan Snaith together on row 7, ahead of Jake Wardle and Oliver Newton at the back of the field. So we should have some entertaining scraps up and down the 16-car grid, but all eyes trained surely to the front row as we get ready to go racing for the first time. Jack, your predictions, please. A Nathan Williams win, or has Kyle Felbus got something left in the tank?
It's going to be very tricky to call, because sometimes Nathan Williams, we've seen him fall foul of the pressure of Kyle Felbus, and I think I don't think it's going to swing that way this evening, mainly because Jordan Taylor's starting from 5th place. Normally, Kyle Felvis has got a rear gunner, or he can get towed up onto the back of Nathan Williams by Jordan Taylor. They've been so good at working together, the two teammates. But Jordan Taylor, he's got a bit of work to do because he's got to get past Harley Connolly and Luke Sintler before he gets to his teammate, and then figure out a way on how they can assist each other to work towards the front. So it's going to be quite tricky for me. I think Nathan Williams might just about keep race 1 in the bag. Race 2, we know the two HFT cars have been just as quick. So I'm going to say, sorry, Nathan, but I'm going to say Nathan is in with a good shout of this one. And then the reverse grid, I'm going to keep my eye on both the HFT cars.
Absolutely so. Right then, let's see whether Jack's predictions are going to run true, or whether Nathan Williams is going to be hunting him down after the broadcast tonight. The red lights are on. We're ready to go racing then for the first time of 2 races tonight at Oulton Park. The revs rise, the lights go out. It's a good start made by Felvis. Bit of a bog down actually from the pole sitter, but Nathan Williams' second phase of the start should just be enough, I think, for him to retain the advantage into Old Hall Corner. And in fact, it's Luke Sintler moving up the inside to briefly challenge Felvis for second. That doesn't work, and so Harley Connolly steams around the outside of him, and actually Jordan Taylor buying into that fight as well. Connolly goes third. Can Jordan Taylor go fourth? It looks as though he might, and well, from hero to not quite zero, certainly drops down to 5th place for Luke Sintler. He will not be happy with that. But Nathan Williams, not initially the best of jumps there, seemingly, Jack, but he's held on to the advantage as we head down towards the Island Hairpin for the first time.
Yeah, not necessarily the start that Jordan Taylor would have wanted, but he's already tried to capitalise on that. Behind, 3 wide in towards the hairpin for the first time. We've got Luke Sintler somehow managing to peek his way up through the inside. Somebody was very late on the brakes. At the look of that, I think it was Luke Sintler that was very late on the brakes. Harley Connolly, it says that he's picked up 3rd place now, so very eager to try and work his way back up towards those podium places. Jordan Taylor now under pressure from Luke Sintler behind, who just got a knock heading in towards the Island hairpin for the first time. As we work our way in towards Knickerbrook, the little chicane here, we've got to be so careful again of those tyre bales. Make sure that you just give them a little bit of room, give them the respect they deserve. Bouncing over the curbs in the background, that might just about hamper the momentum that you may carry up on the hill. That is pretty much the crucial word of the evening, momentum. You've got to keep that minimum speed as high as possible, but Nathan Williams making up for, I think, a bad first phase with a very good second phase of the start. He's already focused on trying to extend that lead margin. It's just about edging towards half a second. Harley Connolly slowly starting to fall away. Jordan Taylor, he's got the work to do, a second away from those provisional podium places, but the mid-pack closer than ever, definitely where we need to be watching.
Indeed so. Luke Sintler, I fancy, is going to have some pace here as the race goes on. That was Oscar Abbott says getting sideways. Leo Bell will aim to take advantage of that and tries to get up the inside as they head over Deer Leap towards Old Hall Corner, but Oscar just managed to get clear and pulls across in front of him. 1 lap in the books then. Nathan Williams leads by 0.4 of a second, but as Jack predicted, the midfield scrap is looking particularly energetic at the moment. Out of Old Hall Corner they go, and that little mistake there from Oscar has just put him on the back foot. Leo Bell hunting around, trying to find a way through without then opening the door for Hayden Gray behind. And again, Oscar is not making friends with the Apex and Cascades, but there's just nowhere really for Leo to go. He gets the run, he's got the momentum, but what he hasn't got, Jack, is the preferred line into the hairpin, and in fact, Hayden Gray is the one who may benefit.
Yeah, it's all down to how they manage the traffic up the road and how they work their way and pick their way through the cars. By the looks of it, Hayden Gray is desperately trying to work his way up the inside. No, sorry, that wasn't Hayden Gray. Yes, it was, pardon me. Hayden Gray, I was right, I was wrong, and I was right again. Hayden Gray desperately trying to work his way through and past Oscar Abbott says, but it's not quite working. Leo Bell is trying to make the most of this, and it must be quite a daunting prospect for Harry Dios, because he can see the group of cars up the road. He's got to try and work his way through. Bertie Bream goes up the inside of Matt Guest, and Oscar Abbott says, ran very deep into the corner, and he's gone from the very front to the very back. Harry Dios, he's trying to work his way through all the way around the outside. A clip on the nose of Oscar Abbott says, but he's gone from what was, I think, 8th place right the way down to 12th.
Oh my word, have you seen the shenanigans going on just ahead? How that wasn't an almighty pile-up heading over Clay Hill, I do not know. That was Hayden Gray and Leo Bell sort of mixing it up with Matt Guest. They've got Bertie Bream, the green and grey car, on their tail as well, and there is now a spinner further back. That is Livia Kronoska going around and miraculously avoided by everybody else. Now, Jordan Taylor for 3rd place, up the inside of Harley Connolly at Lodge Corner. This is a good place to try and make an overtake, but he's not got the job done yet. They're side by side over the timing line, the top 2 streaking away, and Jordan Taylor wants to try and go with them. He's on the inside. No, he's not. Harley Connolly manages to fend him off, but what an almighty battle this is for the final step of the podium.
Yeah, a brilliant move there from Jordan Taylor. He tried to make it work, but Harley Connolly just had the best of the momentum coming out of Druid's corner, carried that over Deer Leap, and then across the start-finish line back towards Lodge Corner. Down the hill we will go, down in towards Cascades. You've got to watch those track limits on the exit, a bit of a bounce over the curb, but Harley Connolly, a brilliant defensive drive so far. All of this battling has dropped them well and truly away from those top two. Jordan Taylor just continuing to fill the mirrors much later on the brakes, heading in towards Island Bend, grabs the apex and just about drops off the nose. That leaves Harley Connolly vulnerable to Luke Sintler, doesn't get the best run out of the corner, maybe misses a gear and has to drop behind, but in the background we're 3 wide through the hairpin, and somehow up the inside goes Harry Dios. He's still got Oscar Abbott says on the inside. No, he doesn't. He's got Bertie Bream on the inside, so they're absolutely door to door. Jordan Taylor this time works his way up the inside of Luke Sintler, so position made there for Jordan Taylor up towards the top three. He's got 3.5 seconds best part of to try and catch the top two. Back to the mid-pack, Harry Dios has somehow managed to work his way through and past Bertie Bream, who's now under pressure from Oscar Abbott says. So back up the hill we will go, and this is far from over.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic racing there going on in the midfield, but heads up driving there from Harley Connolly. Saw the lunge coming from Jordan Taylor and did not just turn wildly into the apex regardless. He saw him coming, he stepped aside, and Jordan Taylor does move up into third position. As Jack says, 3.4 seconds now adrift of the leading pair. Further back, what's going on as we head for Lodge Corner? Well, Harry Dios is back into the top 10 now. He's the white and blue car. Oscar Abbott says the black and green behind. And Bertie Bream there on your screen, hopping and bouncing over the curbs, and that hops and bounces him well wide over the grass coming out of Lodge Corner. That will lose him traction, lose him momentum up the hill, and ultimately lose him a little bit of ground to the two cars ahead. So that just sort of settles down for a moment or two, which means we can check back in on what's going on further up the road. Jordan Taylor looks still in third place, Harley Connolly fourth, and Luke Sintler keeping a watching brief in fifth. Now, Luke got quicker and quicker as the qualifying session went on. He'll be really frustrated, I think, here, Jack, to have then lost all of that track position that he gained in the closing minutes of qualifying, really within the first three corners of the race, because I think he's got podium pace, but overtaking here is not going to be easy.
No, you've pretty much got to do it on the brakes, as we saw a brilliant showcase of that by Jordan Taylor on Harley Connolly. This time Oscar Abbott says on the brakes up the inside in towards the island hairpin. They both go deep. Harry Dios was trying to defend, I think distracted with the move in the background. The best driver to come out of that was Matt Guest, or Bertie Bream, pardon me. Bertie Bream, what a brilliant heads-up piece of driving, saw the gap open up, dived towards the apex, and weaved his way up in towards the top 10. So Oscar Abbott says and Harry Dios getting carried away and following each other wide. But now Oscar Abbott says he's back on the attack as he works his way in towards the Hislop chicane. Again, nipping at the tyre bales, somehow managing to avoid them, taking wing mirrors off, I'm sure. Oscar Abbott says has got to go from attack to defence. He's now got to worry about Harry Dios, who's trying to make up the move. Nathan Snaith has lost out to Jake Wardle. Further up the road, we've got Leo Bell trying to just about edge the door open on Hayden Gray. A bit of contact between the pair of them as they head in towards Drew. It's a very, very fast double apex right-hander. Pitching the car in first is Leo Bell, but I think that just scrubs a bit of speed off on the rear axle, so he's now falling away. You can see in the rearview mirror Matt Guest is breathing down his neck, getting closer and closer as we head in towards Lodge Corner once again. He's shown the outside, but this time I don't think Matt Guest is going to force the door open, but Leo Bell may wash wide. It's all down to the apex, or all down to the run on the exit that they can get. Over the Elite they will go. Back wide goes Oscar Abbott says, meaning Harry Dios can work his way alongside. There's contact between the pair of them, and pitched in towards the barrier is Harry Dios, and Jake Wardle had nowhere to go. A bit of contact between the pair of them, and Harry Dios desperately trying to get the car out of the way. So for the moment, that is Nathan Snaith and Olivia Kronoskrupa place at the demise of Harry Dios.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, really. Bit of lack of spatial awareness there, it seemed, coming out of Deer's Leap. But anyway, Harry will continue and at least can hope for a good grid position for the reverse grid race too. Right, what's going on at the hairpin? Well, that's a very ambitious lunge up the inside, but ultimately a successful one from Luke Sintler. I don't know how he found a gap. I think he created the gap, really, all of his own accord, and he's wheel to wheel now as we head over Hilltop. So on the inside line, Sintler, on the outside, Connolly, and a graphic indication there of how important momentum is, because it looked for all the world there, Jack, as though Luke Sintler had that move made, but he was on the tight line. He had more steering lock on when he hit the power, had to wait a bit longer, therefore, to hit the power, and by going around the high, wide and handsome line, as some would say, Harley Connolly still came out on top.
Yeah, again, very clever driving from Harley Connolly. Saw the move arriving by Luke Sindley. You could see as all the weight dived onto the front axle of the car. The rear got very light and he was squirming around on the brakes, so maybe over-braked into the corner in desperation to get it stopped, meaning that the average speed through the corner was much, much slower. And like you say, he had more steering lock on, so there was a number of factors which then just threw everything back the way of Harley Connolly, so he could pick his way back through. He's falling away from Jordan Taylor a little bit. 1.7 seconds. That gap visually has massively opened up between the pair of them. Luke Sintler isn't really too far away. Albert Henriksen Bell has got the best seats in the house. He's watching this all unfold in front of him and maybe hoping it continues to do so over the coming laps. We're getting closer and closer to the halfway point in this race. The top two continuing just to pull away from the pack behind, but Nathan Williams almost a second clear now, over a second clear with the fastest lap of the race last time through. We're now watching Leo Bell go side by side over the line with Hayden Gray, absolutely door to door, heading in towards turn one. Leo Bell will get the best of this little battle to start off with on the way in. On the way out, it may throw back the way of Hayden Gray, which yes it does, as they go down the avenue in towards the quick right at Denton's, and then it's down towards Cascades. Leo Bell, he's going further back because Matt Guest, ever the optimist, has managed to find his way through, avoiding the grass on turn in. Leo Bell's now fighting back, forcing the gap open on the inside, side by side on the exit. A bit of contact between the pair of them. Hayden Gray will see this going on in his rearview mirror and I think just want to run away. Bertie Bream isn't really too far back from this little duo, but we're still side by side heading in towards Island Bend. Matt Guest on the inside, Leo Bell on the outside. Matt gets the apex, but as we know, the outside means that you can jump on the power earlier, and there is the momentum back the way of Leo Bell. Leo Bell holds on to 8th place. Matt Guest has to settle for 9th, and Hayden Gray, somehow he comes out in 7th.
Yeah, you've really got to rethink how you overtake around here in these little underpowered cars, haven't you? You can't just dive for the apex and hope for the best. That's exactly what Bertie Bream is doing into his lops, though. There's a bit of contact with Matt Guest, and thankfully no real harm, no foul. But Bertie Bream pushing the issue there as he tried to move up into 9th place. They've been joined now by the recovering Oscar Abritzes, who's had his own dramas in the early stages of the race, but picking his way back into top 10 contention as we flick up towards the fight for 5th position. And actually, Luke Sintler not now looking quite as pacey as I thought he might be. He's dropped away from Harley Connolly ahead and into the clutches very much of Albert Henriksen Bell. Albert, remember, 7th in the championship at the moment. Luke Sintler is 5th, but a huge amount of points, I think 23 between the two of them, as they're both gunning for a position inside the top 3 and one of the big prizes in the championship. At the moment, though, they're fighting over 5th place in the race, some way behind the leading group. Further back, Leo Bell still can't find a way past Hayden Gray, but not for the want of trying. He's trying to get to the inside line into Old Hall Corner. That didn't work, and as he realised that wasn't going to work, he swung back over to the wide entry, carried the speed through the apex. It's all kicking off behind them. Proper Junior Saloon Car Championship racing here around a circuit, Jack, that they tell us it's hard to go side by side around, but the kids are finding a way.
Yeah, we've somehow proved them wrong. It's sort of famously quite a narrow circuit as well, and we saw them go side by side around Cadwell, and if you can go side by side, even 3 wide up points around Cadwell, you can pretty much do it anywhere. Back in towards the Island Hairpin once again. Island Bend, Leo Bell forcing the mistake up the inside. I think he was just desperately trying to carve the door open, and then you can see Hayden Gray washes wide, but jumps on the power earlier. It seems to be this, if you want to make a move, go around the outside at Island Bend, and somehow you'll find yourself in front at his lops, but as usual, as soon as you say something as a commentator, it's proved completely wrong. Leo Bell this time up the inside manages to hold on to that place, so downhill top they go in towards the braking area for his lops, narrowly avoiding the tyre bales once again and just managing the very extremes of grip, somehow keeping the nose turned in there was Leo, as I think he turned in from the grass. So pitch the car in, up the hill he will go through and over Clay Hill. I think he's just got a bit of breathing room between himself and Hayden Gray, more than we've seen so far this race. So we've only got, just over 7 minutes of the race remaining, and Leo Bell finally working his way through. And I think Hayden Gray has just been slightly pushed off his rhythm there, and he may be under attack from Matt Guest in the coming laps. Bertie Bream and Oscar Abbott says still not too far away. The lead gap almost up to 1.5 seconds. Nathan Williams, you're doing me proud. I said keep an eye on you, and he's well and truly started to pull away. Oscar Abbott says very late on the brakes, dives up the inside of Bertie Bream. Somehow they don't make contact, but they would absolutely neck and neck at the apex, but Bertie Bream managed to jump on the power slightly earlier and just about holding on to that position as we head towards the start-finish line once again.
Yeah, back across the timing line, then on to another lap, and yeah, 2.5 between the top two. Nathan Williams, the only driver to have set a 1:48 lap time, and he's doing it consistently as well, so it looks like maximum points could be heading his way. Bertie Bream and Oscar Abritzes are getting very, very comfortable with each other as they head down the avenue, and again, a little bit of a hit check there. Bream sideways, struggling to keep the rear of the car in check. as they turn through Cascades Corner. This private battle, as entertaining as it is for 10th position, is really just dropping them away from the group ahead, though. You can see there how the 3 cars in front are starting to get away. There is a bit of a headbutt into the hairpin there for Oscar, and I think he'd do well to not overtake Bertie on this occasion. That would definitely go down as a push to pass, but Bertie does just about manage to hang on, slots back in front of the number 27 car. They head over Hilltop once again. They drop down then into the braking zone for the Hislop chicane. And don't think that Oscar is quite close enough. No, he's not, to slip up the inside on this occasion. Lead gap, by the way, Jack, all of a sudden coming down by 3/10 on this lap. Now, I don't know whether that was due to a Nathan Williams mistake or a sudden increase in performance from Kyle Fells. In fact, it must have happened at the end of the previous lap, because actually in Sector 1, a tenth and a bit faster was Nathan Williams. A personal best second sector for Felvers, though, 3/10 quicker than the leader. Still 5.5 minutes to go. I'm not giving Nathan Williams this race victory just yet.
No, it may have just been a slight snatched break from Nathan Williams, or as you say, Kyle Felvers just found a bit more speed through Sector 2, which is just giving him that personal best Sector 2. However, an immediate response made by Nathan Williams with the overall fastest Sector 3. So even with a mistake, he's in the very, very low 1 minute 49s, a 1:49.241 posted last time through by Nathan Williams. But as you mentioned, quicker last time through for Kyle Felvers, a 1:49.042. So the lead gap has come down, and whether Nathan Williams knows that or not, he's just got to focus forward for the final 4 and a bit minutes still to go. Back to Luke Sintler. He's sort of left to his own devices. He's got to figure out, does he want to go forward and try and attack Harley Connolly? That will be the all-time goal. However, he's got to be very careful about Albert Henriksen Bell, because he is just sat waiting in the wings, waiting for something to happen. Bertie Bream and Oscar Everett says still fighting away, only 2/10 separating the pair of those two. Back down the straight we will go, back down Lakeside in towards Island Bend. Not quite close enough for a move this time from Oscar Everett says. No fear of contact. However, just in front of these guys, we've got Hayden Gray and Matt Guest fighting away as well. So it's 2 duos all sparring away. Everything has thrown the way of Leo Bell, because he's letting them battle and just trying to run away with 7th.
Yeah, 1.5 seconds clear of them now. There is Leo dropping down the hill. Strong drive this from Leo Bell so far in this opening race of the evening. Sort of showed a bit of patience, didn't he, really, when he was bottled up behind Hayden Gray, was trying to get through at every opportunity, but not taking too many big risks, not making any wild lunges, just waited for the opportunity, knowing that once he got the job done, he'd probably have the pace to pull away, and that has proven to be the case. So 7th place looking likely to go his way now, but 8th place, anyone's guess as they head for Druids Corner. Hayden Gray and Matt Guest, the two sort of similarly liveried cars in a way, running almost bumper to bumper as they go through the double apex right-hander. Then it's Bertie Bream and Oscar Abbott says next behind. That gap perhaps slightly bigger than it has been for a little while as well. At the front of the field, meanwhile, another 2/10 nearly gained by Carl Felvers on that lap. So I think he might just run out of time here, Jack, but that gap is creeping down. The smaller it gets, the more pressure starts to pile onto the shoulders of young Nathan Williams out in front, and that really is the goal here for Felvers. Apply the pressure, hope for a mistake.
Yeah, another overall fastest Sector 2 posted by Kyle Felvers, another personal best Sector 3 posted by Felvers, and he's knocking on the door of breaking into the 1 minute 48. The best lap from him so far, a 1 minute 49.002, so there's nothing between them. But down in towards Cascades, it was side by side in the background, and there was contact. Oscar Everett says through the gravel, and Bertie Bream, recovering from the grass, jumps back onto the circuit as we approach Lakeside. But Oscar Everett says it's gone from bad to worse. He was desperately trying to carve his way back up in towards the top 10, but knocked wide. I think a fairly innocent mistake there from either driver that just pushed Oscar in towards the gravel, and of course the recovery takes a while on its own, so Jake Wardle will get by, potentially so too will Olivia Kronowski. Yes, she will. Nathan Snaith is sat there as well. He might just sneak his way up the inside on the brakes in towards Island Bend, and yes, they will. So Oscar Abbott says down from what was the battle for 10th right the way down to 14th place, and he's got to try and carve his way back through. We've also then got another recovering driver, Harry Dios, who's a long way down the field in 15th place. He's got to try and carve his way back up through, and hopefully with some assistance by Oscar Abbott says, trying to carve his way through. He's currently just trying to sneak his way up the inside of Nathan Snaith on the brakes in towards his lops. He does manage to do that this time, but with only 1.5 minutes just over still to go of the race, Oscar, I think that's all she wrote, unfortunately, down in 13th. He might just be able to pick up 12th and get his way out of the teens, but across the line go our race leaders to go on to the final lap of the race. Last time through, fastest lap of the race set by Kyle Felvers. Felvis, a 1 minute 48.973. So continuing just to push on and try and get within that crucial 1 second of Nathan Williams. He's just about nipping at the heels there of 1 second. In towards Cascades they will go once again. But as you mentioned a few laps ago, it's too little too late, I'm afraid.
Yeah, still about a tenth of a second off the pace Nathan Williams ran early in the race, but with tyres that have now done 10 laps, they should be past their best really by now. That's a pretty impressive pace. Onto the brakes, into the island hairpin, and Kyle Felvis needs to try and apply the pressure. He's within a second now of the race leader, picking up maybe a hint of a slipstream around some of the faster parts of the circuit, but can he utilise that to generate an overtake for the race lead? Down the hill they go, the top two drivers in the championship, and backing it into the chicane there. Felvis really throwing everything at this. He is not settling for second place in this race. He may have this slender championship advantage, but he wants to try and build it. Does not want to see Nathan Williams eating into it. Now, I didn't notice, Jack, how long they had left on the clock at the start of this lap. I don't know if this will be checkered flag or last lap board at the end of this lap. Nathan Williams praying to see the checkered flag. I actually think he's just going to get his wish, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so. As they crossed the line, it was very, very close indeed, but I think it was sort of the 1 minute 45, 1 minute 44 as they crossed the line remaining. So this will be the final lap for Nathan Williams. Apologies, he still does have the fastest lap. So the bonus point for qualifying through Lodge Corner and then over Deer Leap for the final time in race one. Nathan Williams will score max points at the halfway point of this evening. So the win goes the way of Nathan Williams in race one here at Oulton Park. Kyle Felvis, a hard-fought second place, but unfortunately couldn't really convert that in towards a win. Jordan Taylor will round out the podium. A good race from him after starting fifth. Harley Connolly and Luke Sintler locked in a battle throughout, but they will finish fourth and fifth respectively. Albert Henriksen Bell, I'm pretty sure he led a fairly entertaining race watching the cars up the road battle, but he could only finish sixth. And Leo Bell, after a very, very hard-fought battle throughout the race, will finish seventh. Hayden Gray and Matt Guest giving it absolutely everything towards the line, but Hayden Gray will pick up eighth, Matt Guest in ninth, then it will be Bertie Bream in the background to round out the top 10.
Yes, it will. So, perfect start for the driver second in the championship coming into tonight. Nathan Williams, bonus point for claiming pole position, bonus point for the fastest lap. That means 27 points scored so far, and that is 5 more than Kyle Felvis. So he's essentially halved the deficit already, with one more race still to go here tonight, this penultimate round of the championship. But that is the reversed grid race. Anything can happen in those reversed grid races, and I'm sure that Nathan Williams will be a little bit concerned about just surviving the early skirmishes in race 2 and then trying to fight Kyle Felvis a little bit later on. Oliver Newton will be the last driver to see the checkered flag. He comes out of Lodge Corner and heads for home, flashes the lights. He'll be on pole position for race number 2 because all 16 cars who started the race managed to stay on the lead lap by the checkered flag. So Oliver Newton will be very, very pleased with having the front row of the grid for race number 2. But from the front row of the grid to the top step of the podium, it's Nathan Williams who claims victory in race 1 here tonight at Oulton Park. And Nathan, we said that qualifying was half the job done. Getting a good start was really sort of the other half of the job, and it was a decent start. You managed to pull an early gap and really never looked back.
Yeah, I think I've managed to get a quite good start, and then from there, I think in the very early stages, I was able to have 1 or 2 tenths on Kyle per lap, and then towards the end, I think it's sort of swapped, and he got a pace advantage. But by then, I think I'd already pulled enough of a gap to eventually take the win.
Yeah, what do you think what it was then that caused the slight lack of pace, not lack of pace, but allowed that gap to shrink slightly in the second half of the race? Did you maybe use the tyres up a bit harder, or was it just Kyle digging deep and finding some extra performance?
I think it was purely just I made a couple mistakes, put a couple of wheels in the grass, and had a couple moments. I think it damaged the tyres and also put me out of the rhythm. And I think eventually through that, I couldn't get back to the pace I had before. So I just struggled, and then I think Kyle was still on his previous pace, and that allowed him to catch up a tenth or 2.
Yeah, not quite enough in the end to challenge for the victory, and it means that you have scored maximum points so far tonight. I reckon you've halved the gap now to Kyle in the championship, but championships aren't really won in race 1s, they're won in race 2s, because these are the more unpredictable races, aren't they? What's the game plan? Are you focused solely on Kyle here, or are you just going to try and survive, make progress, and then see where Kyle is in the second half of the race?
Obviously, I'd love to just focus on Kyle, but I think with him still having the championship lead, I think my goal is purely to go for the win. I think I have the pace to do it, but it's purely about the look of the draw in race 2 and how incidents fall and how you benefit, and yeah.
Well, off to a perfect start this evening, Nathan. Well done on the race victory. Best of luck for race 2.
Thank you.
Nathan Williams then victorious in our first race of the night. Jack, though, can now catch up with the runner-up, and it is his title contender, Kyle Felvers. Wonder how nervous he's starting to feel now, Jack.
Yeah, Kyle, so coming into this round, obviously you came in championship leader, you leave race 1 still championship leader, but of course the pressure has only amounted ever further. Was there much pressure coming into this round? Because obviously you must know that all eyes are on you as championship leader, still with coming into it, 4 races to go, now only 3. The pressure should slowly start to build up. Are you feeling it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think there is slight pressure there, but at the end of the day, I have that little gap, and it just every week consistency, and that's what I've been doing. So just taking that on to the next 4 races, that's the main goal really. And if I can do that, then I can keep the championship lead.
And Oulton Park, obviously, it's quite a tricky circuit to overtake, or so we thought coming into this, but we saw a lot of mid-pack action sort of proving otherwise, and a lot of side-by-side action as well. There's not only that, there's some very heavy braking zones, some quite tight, twisty sections, some quite sort of quick sections as well. But I think the main thing is all of that undulation change. Was that something that you were cautious of? Did it take a bit more practice to get used to? Have you learned anything from race 1 to maybe take on board for race 2?
Yeah, definitely. I think Oulton Park, it's not my favourite circuit. I mean, I have a history with the chicanes. I'm sure Andy knows that. And yeah, it's not my favourite circuit. That's definitely something that, was on my mind coming into the round. So just taking it nice and easy and try and get those consistent finishes. That's all I'm here for.
Well, hopefully you can convert a P2 in race 1 to maybe the extra step on the podium in race 2, but that is still all to come. So hopefully we get to have another chat to you after race 2.
Thank you.
Cheers, Kyle. So great to have a chat there with Kyle Felvers. We were constantly finding reasons to talk to him throughout this season, but Andy, we do have P3 in the commentary box, Jordan Taylor.
We do indeed, and Jordan, I'm sure, is going to passionately disagree with his teammate and say that he does enjoy racing at Oulton Park, because, Jordan, it's yielded another podium finish, but a hard-fought one, that, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was all due to my qualifying. I didn't perform my best. I was not a big off-pace, no mistake on my own, so I knew I had to fight back from 5th. Harley and Luke didn't make it easy, which is good. I don't want it easy. A challenge is always nice. And yeah, I got past them, and then I think by the time I got past Harley, they had a 5, maybe 6 second gap. So I thought about pushing. I gained a bit, and then I was like, "There's not not worth me risking track limits and losing more places when I'm not gonna catch them realistically." So I just pulled a gap from Harley, or Pat behind me, and raced my own race from there, and made sure it was clean and in the circuit.
Yeah, well, nice job done, Jordan. A solid podium finish. We'll let you go because we're only about 30 seconds or so away from race 2 starting, but congrats on the podium, and best of luck for hopefully a safe and uneventful race 2.
Cheers, Andy.
So there we go, top 3 drivers then, all pretty satisfied actually with their evening's work so far. But now, in a way, the real work begins. A full reversed grid. Our top 2 in the championship, who had the luxury of starting on the front row together for race 1, now have to share the back row of the grid. So keep an eye to them. Nathan Williams and Kyle Felvers starting 16th and 15th respectively, whilst Oliver Newton and Olivia Kronoska will be starting off the front of the grid. Nathan Snaith and Harry Dios row 2, Oscar Abratzes and Jake Wardle row 3. That is Bertie Breen, Hayden Gray, Bertie Green, Matt Guest, Hayden Gray and Leo Bell to complete the top 10. The red lights are on, and we are racing once more here at Oulton Park. Good start made, actually, there from Oliver Newton, but the second phase of the start for Kronoska means they're likely to be wheel-to-wheel into the first corner. What's going on further back? Keep an eye on the title contenders, who already are starting to mix it with some of the drivers immediately ahead. Newton, though, leads them out of Old Hall Corner for the first time. They're 3 and 4 wide further back. The HFT drivers getting involved in some of that right at the back of the field as well. Nervy times as they barrel down towards Cascade for the first time. 3 wide action through the right-hand kink at Denton's. That is Jordan Taylor, the first of the pink and black, purple and black HFT cars, and there may be a bit of contact there between Nathan Williams and Carl Felvers. Someone is sideways in the middle of the pack. They thankfully keep it pointing in vaguely the right direction, and Oliver Newton leads them into the island hairpin. Hard on the brakes. Hold your breath, everyone. Let's hope they all get through here in one piece. It looks as though the leaders have, and in fact, really strong driving standards there throughout the field. They're all still there, heading to Hilltop.
Yes, all still absolutely side by side. Anyone would think this is sort of a lap behind or a warming up lap, because they're absolutely door to door. Ollie Newton remains in the lead ahead of Olivia Kronoska. Harry Dias will try and better his result from race one. Just nipping at the tyre bales once again was our race leader, Ollie Newton. Oscar Abbott says in on the mix, trying to work his way through and past Leo Bell. A bit of contact between the pair of them, but they both managed to keep it pointing the right way. Bertie Bream and Harley Connolly still absolutely side by side. We're 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 back up the hill. Best of the starts I have to say will have been made by the man we're riding on board with, Jordan Taylor. He's gone from pretty much the very back row of the grid right the way up to 11th so far. It's a good start, a bit of a tap on the way through by Hayden Gray. Kyle Felbers and Nathan Williams still nose to nose as they work their way, or nose to tail, but we've got a couple of cars heading towards the outside of the circuit, one of those being Jake Wardle. The man we were looking at was Nathan Snaith. Unfortunately, they've dropped right the way down the order. So too has Matt Guest. Kyle Felbers dropping down the order, and he's involved with an accident with Harley Connolly, unfortunately. So Jordan Taylor and Nathan Williams up towards 7th and 8th, but our championship leader, Kyle Felbers, right the way down in 12th. He's got a lot of work to do, and now we may have a battle for the lead, because Olivia Kronoska is trying to dive up the inside of Ollie Newton side by side as they cross the start-finish line, side by side in the background, almost 3, maybe 4 wide in towards turn 1. Olivia Kronoska takes the lead. Contact between Bertie Bream and Harry Dias. Everybody runs wide, including Ollie Newton. So Olivia Kronoska, having got the lead, will now try and run away from everybody else behind. Ollie Newton and Oscar Abbott says backwards, and somehow they all about manage to remain on the circuit. No, they don't, unfortunately. Harry Dias in towards the gravel and eventually the wall. Was that a spin for Jordan Taylor? Yes, it was.
Oh, right in front of the pack. Jordan Taylor was up into 3rd place then, but it's all come crashing down around him quite literally. He's down to 11th place. That's Matt Guest. He's got it all wrong into the head, but he's on the grass. He's pointing the wrong way, and that is Kyle Felvers. He's heading towards. Kyle just avoids him by the skin of his teeth, and Matt Guest, I don't think anyone hit him actually at any point in that. I don't think he had any contact. That was remarkable stuff, a remarkable escape. Kyle Felvers, Jack, is in 6th place. Oh, no, he's not. That's John Taylor on the grass now. Contact heading over Hilltop. Jake Wardle is in the barriers. Really struggling to describe what I'm seeing. But in particular, Jack, I cannot tell you how Kyle Felvers is 6th. He went off at Druids all on his own, then got collected in another accident on the run down toward Lodge Corner. The safety car's being scrambled, and it gives us some chance now to A, catch our breath, and B, try and figure out how on earth Kyle Felvers is in the top 5.
Yeah, last time we saw him, he was down in 14th place looking at the tyre wall, and next time we look back, he's in 5th place. He managed to pick his way through absolutely everybody. All of the carnage up the road, I think, massively played into his hands, and I don't know how. I cannot explain how he went from 14th place up in towards the top 5 and then into the top 5. Nathan Williams, we said that both him and who else was it? I think it was Jordan Taylor were 7th and 8th. After all of that, they're only in 8th and 9th. And we saw Jordan Taylor looking the wrong way and then sideways through the grass and a bit of contact with himself and Jake Wardle. So I'm going to have to watch it back and somehow try and figure out how everybody has fallen into these positions. But Bertie Bream, as they cross the line, is in the lead of the race. Then ahead of Olivia Kronoska, who's had a brilliant start to race 2 this evening. Then it is Albert Henriksen Bell, who, may I remind you, at the end of race 1, crossed the line to finish in 6th. He's up into 3rd already. Hayden Gray is up into 4th. He finished race 1 a little bit down the order in 8th place. And then we get back to Kyle Felvers, Ollie Newton, who we've seen him in every single position inside the top 10 so far. Leo Bell in 7th, Nathan Williams 8th, Jordan Taylor 9th, and Harley Connolly in 10th. So somehow the finishing positions for race 1 have all sort of merged together and they found themselves on circuit again. There's been bits of contact, a couple of spins and a couple of drivers towards the barrier. We've still got all 16 running. The safety car is out. They're all closed up together and we get to do it all again.
I think that's good news. I think I'm looking forward to the restart, but oh my word, that was manic stuff. Kyle Felvers, in the space of 60 seconds, went from being ahead of his title rival, went off the road at Druids, got tangled up into an accident, then Matt Guest nearly wiped him out at the hairpin, and then he had a grandstand view of his teammate Jordan Taylor getting nerfed into the barriers as well, and somehow he has come out of this perhaps as the favourite to win, actually, because looking at the drivers ahead of him, he will be feeling that he's faster than them. He's got a couple of cars between himself and Nathan Williams as well. Forgive us for focusing on those two, but they are fighting for a championship here, and Kyle Felvers has somehow managed to put himself in a really strong position for when the race resumes, which will be in the next few moments, because as you can see, the lights are out on the BMW safety car. Scott Thorne is accelerating away to the pit lane. Bertie Bream is backing the field up nice and early here, heading over Clay Hill. There goes the safety car. That'll be well out of the way by the time the pack gets to Lodge Corner. The question now is, when does Bertie Bream stamp on the loud pedal and get the race back underway? Well, the answer is just on the approach to Druids Corner, because he's already accelerating away, and I think that caught Olivier Kronoska on the hop slightly, because look at the gap that Bertie Bream's already got, 0.8 of a second. We're not even at Lodge Corner yet, and remember, no overtaking allowed until they cross the timing line. So although we're up to racing speed, you're not allowed to overtake the car ahead as you head towards Lodge Corner. So far, everyone abiding by the rules, and we are now almost ready to officially get the race resumed. A 1.3 second cushion, though, for Bertie Bream. That is as textbook a safety car restart as I've seen in some time.
Yeah, he couldn't have hoped for anything better there. What a brilliant restart from Bertie Bream, almost up towards 2 seconds by the time he arrives at turn 1. Olivier Kronoska still sat there in second place. However, Albert Henriksen Bell looking up the inside now. We're seeing Nathan Williams immediately try and jump his way back up through the order and run away from Jordan Taylor, because Nathan Williams up the inside of Leo Bell can't quite get the move done. This time we're seeing Albert Henriksen Bell battle his way up in towards second place around the outside of Olivier Kronoska at Cascade. So up into second place goes Albert Henriksen Bell. Hayden Gray will be the next car to have a look at that. Ollie Newton has gone very wide. So too has Leo Bell. Contact further back, and that is pretty much absolutely everybody apart from Bertie Bream caught up in that. Ollie Newton is further back. So too are all of our championship rivals. So that is Jordan Taylor, Nathan Williams, Harry Dios, and who else is in there as well? I think we've got Kyle Felbus involved. So absolutely everybody caught up in an accident, and somehow the top 3 in the championship find themselves all together 14th, 15th, and 16th.
For the second time in this race, I'm speechless. I do not know what happened there. I was focusing on Nathan Williams. He got involved in the contact with 2 other cars, I think, heading out of Cascades. But what happened to Felvers, I've no idea. The safety car is scrambled once again, and Bertie Bream, the race leader, 7.2 seconds up the road. He's going to be spitting feathers at the idea that he's got to try and now execute another safety car restart, but this time with Harley Connolly and Luke Sintler behind him. So they were really the 2 winners there, weren't they? Gaining a huge chunk of track position. Matt Guest in 4th position, Abrantes 5th, then Harry Dias, Jake Wardle, Nathan Snaith, Oliver Newton, and Hayden Gray. So yeah, at the moment, Williams 14th, Jordan Taylor 15th, and Kyle Felvers in 16th place. But you have to worry, Jack, about how much damage they sustained. It's not a particularly aggressive damage model on these cars, but I believe that they are not invulnerable. And so if you start bouncing into the air and clattering off the Armco barrier, that will affect your performance.
Yeah, and of course, Scott Thorne, he's having a rather busy night this evening. He's been deployed twice in one race, more than we've seen so far at any point this season. So lights ablaze on the roof of the PASR BMW M2 safety car. Bertie Bream is already weaving, trying to keep some temperature in the tyres and the brakes as he works his way in towards turn 1. Followed, who is now in second place, Harley Connolly. Then it's Luke Sintler, Matt Guest, Oscar Abbott says, Harry Dios, Jake Wardle up into 7th place. It's been a good night from Jake so far. I think he picked up 11th place in race 1, and he's in 7th at this moment, but we've still got what will be, I think, maybe 9 minutes of racing still to go if we manage to go back under green flag conditions this time by. Then it is Nathan Snaith, Ollie Newton and Hayden Gray rounding out your top 10. Olivia Kronoska, oh, where did it all go wrong? I fear for Olivia. She was in 3rd place just before we saw the monumental accident heading down Lakeside, and she now finds herself in 11th. Leo Bell in 12th. I can't get over our top 3 championship protagonists, Kyle Felbus, Nathan Williams and Jordan Taylor, are all 14th, 15th and 16th. But I think more crucially in this one, Kyle Felbus in 16th at the very tail end of the order. The only person separating him and the championship rival is his teammate, Jordan Taylor. But another twist in the tail for Kyle Felbus, because look at his steering wheel. That isn't straight anymore, carrying some very, very heavy mechanical damage.
Yeah, that was the concern for me, that he'd had enough of a whack against the barrier or other cars or both that was going to have damaged the car. So Felbus's chances of moving forward limited. I'd love to ride on board with Nathan Williams. Jordan Taylor's steering looks more or less okay. Nathan Williams likewise. So that is not good news for Felbus. Remember, that championship lead shrunk dramatically after the first race, and now here he is with damage as he gets ready for the race restart. So all kicking off, and do you know what? I'm just looking back on the stream. I think there might have been a bit of a lag spike for someone in that second place group. I think that's what caused the calamity. So really unfortunate that. because honestly, no one to blame. It's just one of those sim racing incidents. But anyway, they've all got another chance, damage or not, to try and salvage something from this race. And Bertie Bream tries to repeat his extraordinary restart from the last safety car period. It's not quite as strong this time, but he has built himself a couple of cars lengths over Harley Connolly, who's already busy sort of watching his mirrors to see what Luke Sintler is doing. And that might just distract him enough to allow Bertie Bream to get into his rhythm. 9 minutes of racing to go then. Hopefully, with the greatest of respect to Scott Thorne, that's the last we've seen of him in this race, and we can let this one run to the checkered flag. Across the line they go. 0.4 of a second is all the margin that Bertie Bream's built up this time, but it could not be closer for second place. Luke Sintler almost pushing Harley Connolly through Old Hall Corner, and perhaps that is what happened, because actually Harley runs wide over the grass on the exit of the turn, and that means that Luke Sintler is on the attack, heading towards Cascades.
Yeah, so back down the hill we go, pitching in towards the left-hander, slightly late on the way in from Harley Connolly. That will open the door for Luke Sintler, so he might just sneak his way up the inside on the exit of Cascades. Down Lakeside we will go, over the crest before you jump on the brakes, all the weight dives onto the front axle, and Bertie Bream having the need to go defensive this time in towards the island bend. So Bertie Bream somehow holding on to the lead. Luke Sintler and Harley Connolly still absolutely side by side. Matt Guest will try and make the most of this and can potentially see himself in a podium place. Oscar Everett says not too far away in 5th place. A bit of a gap back towards Harry Dias. That's when the second group starts for the rest of the field. But for the moment, down in towards turn 1 go our top 5, and late on the brakes up the inside. A brilliant move from Luke Sintler, from Harley Connolly, pardon me, gets a tap on the way through. Luke Sintler tries to turn in as late as possible, give the room, or give as much room as he physically can without compromising his line too much, and they just about get away with that. So this is again all throwing back the way of Bertie Bream. 1.1 seconds clear of Harley Connolly and Luke Sintler now. Riding on board with Nathan Snaith, he's trying to pick his way through and past Jake Wardle. It will be the outside as we work our way through the left kink, but under attack as well from Hayden Gray. Go the pair of those two in towards Druids. Can they go side by side through there? Maybe just about. Very well driven from the pair of them. Racing room given. So Jake Wardle will maybe not have to worry too much about defence. There's big contact in the background. Nathan Snaith was one of those cars involved, and I fear, as I said, they might have been able to get through Druid side by side, but the exit over the crest is where they came to blows. And Nathan Snaith finds himself down in 16th place. There is Oscar Abrick says in 6th place, so he will now try and carve his way further up through the order, and just about edging each other towards the pit wall go Leo Bell, Hayden Gray, and I think that was Jake Wardle involved as well. A bit of contact between the pair of them. Hayden Gray up the inside, Jake Wardle edged wide. Leo Bell up the inside, Jake Wardle edged wide, and Hayden Gray is going to try and pick up the place. More importantly, Jordan Taylor has got through and past Nathan Williams, I think trying to limit any sort of points loss for his teammate Kyle Felvers down in 14th.
Oh, there's a contact there between Taylor and I think that was Jake Wardle, and that does now mean that Nathan Williams has got a bit of a run. Williams, I suspect, carrying some damage here, just wants to try and salvage what he can. It's worth pointing out he's already scored points tonight than he has on his lowest scoring night of the season. This won't be a drop score for Nathan, whatever happens, whereas Kyle Felvers, remember, he's dropping 39 points. So by my rough calculations, unless Kyle can get into the top 6 in this race, which looks unlikely, this will become his drop score. A good time to have a bad run this for Felvers, because it's the last race this season that you're able to drop. Meanwhile, Jordan Taylor up the inside into the Hislop chicane. Nathan Williams tries to follow him through, can't quite do it. Bit of paint traded there between Nathan Williams and Jake Wardle, and so Jake Wardle will just about hang on. That actually backs Williams up into Albert Henriksen Bell. So some quick drivers in this group who just can't make any progress, whether that's because of the challenging nature of the circuit, the fact that it is a difficult place to overtake, or whether it's because they're carrying damage, I don't know. But either way, Nathan Williams looking resigned here to a relatively lowly finish. The only positive here is that Kyle Felvers is in the same boat.
Yeah, but as you say, that drop round is still definitely something to consider. And as you mentioned, the best time to take it, the last round of the season, the last race of the season, that you can drop any sort of points that you have scored prior to this round. Luke Sintler now trying to attack Harley Connolly once again to work his way back onto the provisional second step of the podium. Up the inside, he will go in towards turn 1. Contact between the pair of them. They both just run wide. Further than ever goes Harley Connolly. He did manage to avoid the wall and gain quite substantial advantage there, I think, was Harley Connolly. Somehow maximising any sort of momentum that he had on the grass. So he closes back up to Bertie Bream in the lead of the race. Luke Sintler is left with all that hard work to do once again. Matt Guest will be hoping it all goes wrong up the road. Oscar Abbott says and Harry Dios getting closer and closer together, only half a second separating the pair of those two. Nathan Williams will be desperate to try and catch back up onto the coattails of Jordan Taylor, having just worked his way through and past Jake Wardle, but he's got 1.5 seconds to make up. Kyle Felvers still just floating around in 14th place, managing that car to the end. I think keeping it in between the white lines and picking up a finish. Jake Wardle dropping ever further because Albert Henriksen Bell has picked his way through and passed all the way around the outside. A flash of the lights there from Jordan Taylor, showing Hayden Gray that he is getting closer and he intends to work his way through and past, and again just take more points away from everybody else in an attempt to help Kyle Felvers in the championship, but also better his championship position as well for Jordan Taylor, because it's been a low point scoring night for some of the big hitters in this championship. Back up towards the front, Luke Sintler and Harley Connolly again breathing down each other's necks, and Bertie Bream will be hoping this continues on for another 3 minutes and 50 seconds.
Indeed so. Bertie Bream continuing to lead the way, gets my vote for driver of the round for sure. He looks really quick, actually, sends the car into Druid. Nice bit of rotation, and comes out the other side. Still 7/10 clear of Harley Connolly and Luke Sinter, who themselves have not left each other alone since the restart, have they? And that really is helping the race leader, I think. Harley Connolly is more focused really on what's going on behind him than he is on trying to chase down the race leader ahead. Jordan Taylor, meanwhile, continuing to charge forward. Now, I'd sort of written Jordan out of the championship picture a little bit after race one, but here he is, ahead of both of the two drivers who head him in the championship standings. He's perhaps on course here to gain another place as well. Can he convert 9th place into 8th as they turn into Old Hall Corner? The answer for now is no, and actually that failed attempt at an overtake has allowed Nathan Williams to close in. Side by side for second place. Up the inside goes Luke Sintler, and I think he's finally going to breach the defences here of Harley Connolly. He's got the preferred line through Cascade, but as we've seen time and time again tonight, if you can hang it out round the outside, you carry that momentum down the next section of racetrack, and that now means that Connolly has his nose back ahead on the inside line for the Ireland hairpin, and for now at least, Jack retains second place.
Yeah, for now definitely is the right word, because again, Luke Sintler, he looks to get the cut back, but I think Harley Connolly will have the better of the two momentums on the exit. No, he won't, because they're still side by side. Now we're seeing side by side action between Jordan Taylor and Nathan Williams, bouncing off each other's doors, and we're now 3 wide as we work our way over Hilltop down in towards Hislop's. Nathan Williams, what a way to read that move. He's not only got past Hayden Gray, he's also got past Jordan Taylor, and Jordan Taylor's still hampered up behind Hayden Gray. So Nathan Williams with a brilliant move on the exit of Island Bend. Over Hilltop he went and then secured those 2 places. Jordan Taylor, he's just struggling to work his way through and past Hayden Gray. He can't quite pick the gap when he needs to. Nathan Williams has probably slightly infuriated Jordan Taylor because he arrived, went through, and he's starting to check out once again. So Nathan Williams up into 8th place. Hayden Gray and Jordan Taylor remain 9th and 10th. And Kyle Felvers, as we mentioned, still there in 14th place, just trying to nurse that car home. Side by side through Druids, a bit of contact between Jordan Taylor and Hayden Gray, and he still can't work his way through and past, meaning that Albert Henriksen Bell has closed up onto this battle as well. So in towards Lodge go that little trio. Nathan Williams has already checked out completely, almost to the tune of a full second. He will try and now close up onto the tail end of Harry Dios. A minute and a half still to go as we cross the line. Bertie Bream will go on to the final lap of the race with Luke Sintler not too far away within a second. Harley Connolly has fallen out of touch with second place at the moment. Matt Guest a fairly equidistant gap back. Oscar Abbott says again a fairly similar distance back. Where we need to be watching is Hayden Gray, Jordan Taylor and Albert Henriksen Bell, how these 3 are going to finish on the very outskirts of the top 10.
Indeed so, and what further progress Nathan Williams can make, because actually he's checking out now from this group and looks to be catching the group of cars ahead, well, the pair of cars ahead really, Leo Bell and Harry Dios. If he can scrape a top 6 finish from this race, Nathan Williams will be very, very satisfied with that, I think. Down towards the Island hairpin we go, and Jordan Taylor looks to the inside line, can't get the move done, then sort of chops across the bows of Albert Henriksen Bell there. Hayden Gray parking the car on the apex. There's no way that Jordan Taylor was getting the switchback, and that has killed Jordan's momentum now, heading over the top of the hill, and that was a real slamming of the door, a bit too abruptly, really, I think, in the face of Albert Henriksen Bell. So we'll wait and see what the stewards say about that post-race. Meanwhile, at the head of the field, we are on the final lap of the race, and Luke Sintler still has a shot at the race victory. He has closed in rapidly onto the tail of Bertie Bream. He's got the slipstream over Clay Hill, but only 2 more corners to go. It's going to be another one of those classic Oulton Park Lodge corner deciders, and Luke Sintler could be in the absolute perfect position here. He takes the wide line into Druids. He carries the momentum off the turn. He's got his nose on the inside line. They're side by side underneath the Paul Warwick Bridge and down towards the final corner of the final lap of the race. Luke Sintler, if he can outbrake Bertie Bream and not overshoot the corner. Might be about to pick up a race win, but Bertie Bream's not going to give up this opportunity without a fight. A best finish so far this season of 7th place for Bertie. Is it going to be a first victory? It might just be. Get the photo finish camera ready. It's going to be almost a dead heat. Across the line they go, and it's Sintler by 67 thousandths of a second who claims the race victory here at Oulton Park. Bertie Bream heartbreakingly denied at the final corner of the race, but what a performance that was from Bertie to get his first ever podium finish. Such a shame it couldn't be a victory, but my word, what an exciting conclusion to the race. Sintler claims the win, Bream second, Harley Connolly third ahead of Matt Guest, Oscar Abbott says, Leo Bell, Harry Dias, Nathan Williams unfortunately has to settle for 8th in the end ahead of Jordan Taylor. Albert Henriksen Bell in 10th, whilst Carl Felmus will notch up a dropped score there with a season-low 14th place finish. Well, Jack, another fairly dull and uneventful race there from the Junior Saloon Car Championship's official eSeries. That was bonkers from start to finish, and what a finish it was.
Yeah, I don't know how they do it. Every single round, you think it cannot get closer than that. We were saying that from race 1, round 1 this season at Brands Hatch Indy, and then it got closer, and this is the closest we've seen it all season. And we're not even at the season finale, the season decider in a week's time at Brands Hatch. But all about this evening, how close is it going to get? Because that was absolutely, I've not seen anything that close in a long time. Unfortunately as well, Hayden Gray and Jordan Taylor, I think, came to blows on the very final lap of the race, meaning Hayden Gray ended up dropping down to 13th place. But anywhere, if you started the race down in 16th place, you were in with a shout of walking away with a win. That is just not only the way of the Junior Saloon Car Championship, but I think the evening, it was such a close race from start to finish in race 2. Race 1, maybe not quite as eventful, but again, just as close. And the good thing is, with it being the makeup of the championship, we get to have a chat with the top 3 and maybe even the driver of the round if they pop in as well.
Yes, indeed. So, although I think there is a chance that the driver of the round may already be with us, actually, in the commentary box. But let's have a quick chat then, shall we? First, with our race winner, Luke Sintler, who didn't look like being our race winner, quite frankly, until about 2 or 3 corners from home. But Luke, once you broke into 2nd place there, you made very short work of catching Bertie. But I'm sure even you were doubting, heading into Lodge Corner, whether the win was going to be yours.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I had no idea I'd won that race, so yeah, that's the first surprise for me. And the second surprise is that I started in 16th, I think, and finished first, so that's, yeah, I'm quite happy with that, to be honest, and I wasn't expecting that going into the race.
Talk us through that race. I mean, it was madness from start to finish as far as we could tell. You were right in the thick of it all, though. How much of you surviving that and putting yourself in a race-winning position at the end was your skill and racecraft, and how much of it was blind luck?
Yeah, I think that race was mostly down to luck. I did make a few mistakes which were completely my fault, racing against Harley, which I want to apologise about. But once I did get past him, I hope cleanly, I managed to catch up the leader and overtake, which was good, yeah.
Very good, a fascinating run to the flag there, and it does now net you a race victory, which actually is your first win of the season. I thought you might have been on the top step already by now, but it's been a tough season, a really competitive championship this, Luke. You've been around with us here at PASR for a little while now, and I think this has been the toughest championship to win a race in so far, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. The competition's really strong in this championship, and yeah, I'm proud to have won a race, even if it is in the second to last round, so yeah, that's good.
Yeah, absolutely, and it means that you can now go into the final round at Brands Hatch actually with a legitimate shot at breaking into the top 3 in the championship standings. There's a very, very fancy gaming monitor up for grabs if you can manage that. That's got to be the goal now, surely, in those final 2 races.
Yeah, I really hope so. My screen broke in one of the last rounds, so I could really do with that, actually.
There we go. Meant to be, Luke. Meant to be. Congratulations on the race victory, and thank you for putting on such an incredible show for us. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you.
So Luke Sintler victorious. Now, I was about to hand over to Jack Werrell to have a chat with our runner-up driver, Bertie Bream. Sadly, Bertie has left the commentary box, but Jack, I will let you do the honours of revealing who our driver of the round was.
Yeah, I think unfortunately his mic is having a few issues this evening. Driver of the round would have been the man that we would have spoken to, Bertie Bream. So unfortunately, we won't be able to grab a chat with him again, with finishing second place and getting his hands on driver of the round, and of course the 3M UK sim racing gloves that will be going his way. So Bertie, if you are watching along, or anybody that is supporting him, massive congratulations. It was a very, very close race this evening. I think P10 and P2, so a well-deserved driver of the round. But we do have our P3 driver in the commentary box. So Andy, you know what? Let's make it 2 from 2. Over to you to have a chat with Harley.
Yeah, thank you very much, Harley Connolly. Then on the podium, and Harley, in 100 words or less, describe to me your race. I think that's probably going to be as much of a challenge as surviving that race was. That was pretty hectic, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite mental, that race. I don't know whereabouts I got damaged near the start. It was like steering a bloody boat that way. So I was steering like 90 bloody degrees. I couldn't make it around any corner. So I knew after the dozen or so safety cars that Luke would, when he was behind me, I knew he'd probably catch me at the end. I was trying to keep him behind for as long as possible and try and get Bertie, hopefully. But fair play to Bertie, he had some good pace on him. And then Luke got past me cleanly. And I was just hoping I wouldn't lose third as well.
Oh, that's interesting to know then. So we didn't realise you were carrying damage there. We noticed you were struggling a little bit for pace after the second safety car restart. All the more impressive then, actually, because your pace wasn't that bad, was it, in the closing stages there? Did you think maybe you might be able to fend Luke off there to the flag?
Yeah, I was hoping so. I mean, I've raced Luke a lot before, so I knew he was quicker than me pace-wise. But normally I can hopefully fend him off. But with the damage, I just had no shot, and he had made a good move on that hairpin and kept the run. So fair play to him. It was a good race.
A good race. Nice way to complete the evening then tonight. It's been a tough season for you, really, hasn't it? You've had some moments of pace. Obviously, the win in the third round of the season a number of weeks ago now. Are you happy with how the season's gone? And what are your sort of hopes now for the final 2 races at Brands Hatch?
Yeah, the last, I think, 4 or 5 races, I've finished P4 and P3. It's been consistently decent. I'm not complaining about that. I'm just hopefully trying to keep Luke behind me in Championship, which that win didn't help with. But I think he's probably about even points with me now. So we'll just have to see what happens in the last round. I'm not a fan of Brands, to be honest, so we'll see what happens.
Well, we are as excited as you are to see what happens at the final 2 rounds of the championship, but a big step forward this season from you, Harley. We've noticed it, and we're very, very happy to see it indeed. Harley, congratulations on the podium. We'll see you again next week.
Cheers, Andy.
Right, okay, we might actually have an opportunity after all, Jack, to have a chat with Bertie Bream. We've already sort of broken the news that he's won the driver of the round, but it would be nice to get his perspective on what was a nail-biting race nonetheless.
Yeah, so Bertie, welcome to the commentary box. Great to have a chat, and a good night, I'd say, from you. Obviously P10 and then P2, just about P2 at the line, and so you've earned yourself driver of the round. But towards the line on that final race, was it sort of touch and go whether you'd get the win or second place, or would you have settled for both? Of course, finishing first is obviously where you want to finish, but P2 is still an outstanding result and a good haul of points.
We may not have Bertie.
No, unfortunately not. We're with him in spirit. Obviously, we've asked him a question. He might text me back at some point. But yeah, obviously it was a good race, a good night all round, I would say, from Bertie. Hence why he's got driver of the round. So great to at least have him in the box very briefly, to at least pose him a question. He might join us, maybe at Brands Hatch. We might find the time just to have a quick chat with him, and maybe a few of the other drivers throughout the season. They might not finish in the top 3, but of course it's good to get the perspective of some of the drivers that maybe we haven't spoke to throughout the season. But all that will be unveiled in a week's time, the 25th of January at Brands Hatch. We've been there before, so the sort of lack of practice is no real excuse, and that's where the championship is really going to go down to. It's down to the wire now. Tonight has really thrown the championship up in the air, and that's almost exactly how you want it, especially with drop rounds now coming into play more than ever.
Yeah, exactly. And as I said at the top of the broadcast, when we go to Brands Hatch in a week's time, they'll all have raced there already. So I think we'll see even more competitive racing. Hard to imagine you can get much more competitive than the 2 races tonight, but I do think that is going to be a fitting conclusion to the championship. And how close the championship standings will be, I guess we'll have to wait and see. There will, I'm sure, be some post-race judicials that may affect things, but it's going to be close. It's going to be a very tense final 2 races. You don't want to miss them. Make sure you tune in next week, same time, same place, for the Brands Hatch Decider. After which, a reminder, we will be going MX5 racing. Our next championship here at Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing has been announced. Thursday nights, once again, will be our broadcast evenings with 2 20-minute races, a 15-minute qualifying session preceding them, a 6-week championship that will cost you only £40 to enter for the full season, and we reckon at least a £300 prize fund. What more reason could you want to join the grid? Oh yes, it's MX5 racing, so it's guaranteed to be really close, slipstreaming action all the way, and some of the best circuits in the UK will be hosting the championship. It starts on the 8th of February. Get yourself registered if you want to be out there on the grid and join, perhaps, several of the front-running drivers that we've seen entertaining us here tonight. That, though, I think is just about all we've got time for. Jack, thank you very much for stepping in alongside me. It's been a pleasure to have you here. A pleasure working alongside the whole PASR team, as always. We'll all be back next week for the title decider at Brands Hatch. 2 races to settle it, no dropped scores, quite a few grudges to settle as well, I think, going into that final round. It's going to be fun. We'll see you then.